Hello everyone, it's the Left-Handed Lady coming at you today with our March plan with me. We're going to be doing a cute little dinosaur theme. I'm inspired by the movie Land Before Time. There's multiple movies. I grew up on these movies as a kid and I love them to death. Currently still own them on VHS and watch them. So we're going to go in with a blue-green theme for this month with a little bit of peach mixed in. And we're going to go straight into our pre-sketched dinosaurs and just start coloring them full in. On this one I'm going to be using this mint, it's almost like a teal mint green, all over the dinosaur. And then later I'm going to come in with a darker blue colored pencil and do the spots in the underbelly, a little bit of details. You'll see this theme throughout the whole spread. All of the dinosaurs will have a mixture of marker and pencil. Mostly because I didn't have the colors that I wanted in olive markers or olive pencils, but it also adds a textural dimension throughout the pieces and I really like the way that looked. If you're wondering how I got the idea to sketch these specific dinosaurs, I was scrolling through Pinterest, and as many of you might have noticed from my previous videos, I do have a tattoo of a dinosaur on my arm, and so my Pinterest was suggesting me different types of dinosaur tattoos, and I came across this cute little T-Rex as a sketch, and I just had to try to doodle it. So I took that reference and doodled it from there, and then I was like, gotta make a spread out of it because I loved it so much. So I continued with finding different sketches on Pinterest that I found fit my style. That's why, as you can tell, they're not all the same exact style. Like the dinosaur has a little bit bigger cartooner eyes than the pterodactyl and the long neck. But in my eyes, it kind of works with the theme of the quirkiness of my art. I really liked the way it turned out. So if you are ever having trouble figuring out what you're going to sketch or plan with, go to Pinterest. It is my best friend, and you can find lots of drawing prompts and sketches there to base your sketches off of. So I'm going in with this lime green Tombow marker on the T-Rex, and as you could tell, I went over the head and the body multiple times with this marker. I wasn't really loving the lighter green that I was getting with just one pass of the marker, and with Tombow dual brush pens you can layer them multiple times to get a more saturated color, and I loved the way that looked, so I went with it. Then I'm going with this neon yellow green colored pencil to go in with his little stripes on his back and his underbelly, the underneath of his arms or his hands, and his pads of his feet. Then I'm going in with a pink colored pencil and coloring in their cute little mouths. Now this is where that pop of peachy orange comes in. I was going with an all green palette and I thought I needed something to break it up a little bit. So I chose this color and I really liked the way it turned out. My mom was kind of worried that this wouldn't go with the rest of the colors, but I really loved the way it ended up flowing with everything. And I tied that in with the darker blue colored pencil that I used on the long neck to add in some details, spots and stripes in the underneath of his wings. Then I'm going in with like a little palm tree style on the corner because I didn't want to make this super busy. I really wanted to focus on the dinosaur sketches, but I also felt like there needed to be something anchoring the page down. So I went ahead and took my like sage green Tombow marker and made a land scene area, and then I went ahead and made a small palm tree coming off of that. Now, many of you might be wondering, why is the long neck just standing there while the T-Rex is chasing him? Well, I kind of had a playful vibe going on when I was sketching this out. I was thinking that maybe they were playing tag or something. That's why they're both smiling. No one's scared, in my opinion, or at least the way that I like to view dinosaurs in these cartoon versions is that they're very playful. And that's how I want this month and this spread to view in my eyes, is a very playful, happy, enjoy your life kind of thing. So now I'm going in with my darker green Tombow brush marker and lining out and coloring in all of these leaves. And I went with more of like a Monstera, I think that's how you pronounce it, Monstera leaves. The ones with the little holes in them, I just thought that gave it more of a prehistoric vibe than just my normal leaves. And I decided to do bubble letters for this whole theme, so you'll see all the bubble letters throughout my whole spreads. But I'm going in and alternating through all of the different colors to get all of the month's colors in that March 2021 at the top there. And by this point, I'm really loving how it's working out. So we're going to start on our quote and outline the part that I wanted to highlight, which is who it was said by, and it's Littlefoot's mother. And then we're going to go in with our fine liner and just outline all of our sketches. So add back in the details that we covered up with the markers, fix any corrections with our markers that slipped up, and add a little bit of dimension to the details on the backs of our dinosaurs. And I love outlining all of my artworks. So many people say that they hate it, that they always mess up, but in my opinion, my art doesn't come together unless I outline it. It just looks like sketchy lines, and then once you outline it, you're like, oh, okay, that looks good. So don't be afraid to put a thin black line around your sketches and see how it works, because you might be surprised at how much you like it. Now, I will give you a tip here. I didn't realize this until I got to the T-Rex, but sometimes fine liners don't like to draw on top of colored pencil very well. So you need to go in with kind of a heavy hand and not necessarily make a drawing line, but more of an indentation, and then maybe go over it again with that once it dries again. Because most colored pencils do have like that waxy coating on top of them, you could either like scratch it off with your nail and then draw over it, or just take the time to draw over it twice. If you're using a Sharpie marker, this is a Sharpie gel pen, so it doesn't work as well as a Sharpie marker, but if you're using like a Sharpie fine liner, then they work really well. I couldn't find mine at that moment, so I didn't use it, but I wish I had, because it would have given me a much cleaner line on top of those colored pencils. Now I'm going to mention that my hand is very up and down in this whole tutorial. My hand was killing me that day for some reason. I don't know why, but my wrist and my fingers were just killing me, but I knew I needed to get this done. So as you can tell, I'm kind of holding my pen a little bit more tightly to have a little bit more control, because my hand was hurting. So I'm sorry if you can't quite see exactly what I'm doing in the moment, but I'm hoping that you can get the gist of how I sketched everything out. Our quote for this month is, "Let your heart guide you. It whispers, so listen closely." Now we're going in with our month spread, our calendar spread. Now, as you may have noticed, I am switching back to my big calendar spread instead of the small gridded spread that I've done the past couple months. Mostly nothing against the small spread that I've done the past couple months, but mostly because I really enjoyed sketching out all of these cute dinosaurs, and I wanted to give myself as many pages as I could to get as much sketches in. I really have nothing bad to say about either way of these. It depends on how much you need to write down. So lately, especially with COVID and my work being my work schedule being a lot less chaotic, I have not needed these 6x6 boxes to fill out everything that I'm doing that day. And the chart type calendar has worked really well for me. But like I said before, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. I still use all of the boxes. I still somewhat fill them in. But if you would like to save more pages in your journal and you like the other style, then I say stick with it. It would work the same in this style. You can just add a little dinosaur at the top border like we have before. But how I'm doing this out is I did each day is 6 dots by 6 dots, or actually it's 6 squares by 6 squares, so I think it's actually 7 dots each. But it works out really well in the Scribbles That Matter. It gives me enough space on that right hand side to write March, and a little bit of space at the bottom where the month ends early in that week to add a couple sketches of dinosaurs. So I'm going in with a little Triceratops and a Stegosaurus. I'm going to have to say that the T-Rex and the Stegosaurus and the Triceratops are probably my favorite. If I had to pick one, I would pick this cute little Triceratops. She's so cartoonistic, but also like extremely realistic in my opinion. I mean, what is really realistic? We don't even know what they looked like truly. We have their bones, but not pictures. So I love the fact that I can draw dinosaurs and not be criticizing myself, because we don't actually have a full-on reference of what they are 100% supposed to look like. So I can feel a little bit more comfortable about drawing them in such a goofy style or in a little bit more of a playful style. And I would like to challenge y'all to do something like that. Pick something that you would normally be like, I don't think I could draw that, and look it up on Pinterest and just take your time. Sit down with a pencil and paper. Always start with pencil first. And just try to see if you can do it from a reference. If you need a little bit of help and you're just starting out, trace. Trace until you get the shapes down, and then freehand until you work out how to do it on your own. There's nothing wrong with tracing as long as you're not passing it off as your own work. Then I don't see any problem with it. But it is a great way of learning the different shapes and the different ways and training your hand to guide along curves and that kind of stuff. Personally, that's how I started as a teenager, is tracing things from Pinterest. And then I just realized that I had learned enough that I could do it on my own, and I just started sketching freehand. Now I'm going to admit, there's a lot of erasing usually when it comes to trying it first out. But by the time I drew on the 3rd page with the multiple different kinds of dinosaurs, I kind of had it down. So I'm just going in, I'm same color palette as the last page. We're going to carry this on through all of our spreads, even our weeklies. And then I'm just going in with that thin black line and outlining everything. I loved the look of these little bubble letters, but let me tell you, they took forever to get right. I was so picky, and I don't know why, because normally I'm not very picky about my fonts, but these bubble letters, I needed them to be perfect. And they're not perfect, but they look pretty good by the end of the time, and I think I'm pretty happy with them. They just add to the whimsical aspect of this spread, I think. So now I'm just going in with my Sharpie SGel Pen, and I think it's a 0.7. It may be 0.5. I'll have to check on that. I'll leave all of the items that I'm using in the description box below. But I'm just going in with a ruler and lining out all of those grid spaces. And if you're new here, yes, I do my weeks Monday through Sunday. I do them very European style. It's not something in the US here that most people do, but I find it works much better with my schedule since my weekends are usually my days off. School and everything are always during the week, so it gives me a good start off on the beginning of your week and end off on your days off. It always works out for me, and I've just always done this. But if you are copying mine and you would like to do it Sunday through Saturday, then you need to make sure you adjust your days after copying mine. Just worth mentioning because my mom keeps her calendar Sunday through Monday because she doesn't have a set work schedule, and so it works a lot better that way. So I'm just going in with those colored dots and writing in all of the days, the dates, and then taking my trusty eraser and getting all those pencil sketch lines out of the way. Then we're going to move on to our tracker and moods page. And of course I'm doing little dinosaurs again because I love sketching them. I have a feeling I'm probably going to end up painting a dinosaur before the end of this month just because I'm so in love with how these sketches turned out. Now, if you're not somebody who wants to track a bunch of things or keep track of your mood or a log or anything like that, this page is so not necessary for you. It's also one of the most time-consuming pages of all of my setup. So even though I use it so much, every day I go to this page and I love tracking all of my things. I love being able to look back at the end of the week and know what I've done, what I haven't done, what I need to work on, how I need to adjust my mood. There's times like this when my hand is killing me and this page takes me 25 plus minutes to set up just because it's so tedious. I'm like, why am I doing this? And then later in the week I realize, that's why, because I love the way it looks and I love using it. But I wanted to mention that this is not something for everyone. There are small little trackers you can add in. If you're just tracking one or two things, you can add them into your weekly spread. Doing a small little graph at the bottom of your weekly spread works really well too. Or just strictly not using them. If you're not tracking anything, skip this because it is such a tedious page with all of these little tiny calendars and the different lines and that kind of things. But that being said, I love this spread. I love it so much. I love that I use the little icons to determine my fish and my dogs and the pills. And I love the bubble letters. I hated sketching them out, but I love the way they look. So sometimes the pain is worth it. Sometimes the tediousness of setting up a spread beforehand is worth it in the end, because once you add color to that page, it just all comes together. So I'm using the same color scheme, same dinosaurs and different shapes that I've normally used. And then I'm going in and putting 4 normal size trackers. So those are just miniature calendars, 1 square per day, so that I can just shade in if I did it, and if I didn't, it's blank. And then I added a 2x2 square for my water tracker. I've noticed that I hate writing in the 1x1 square how many ounces of water I've drank, and now that I'm actually keeping up with it and doing better and I'm getting into the hundreds of ounces of water, it's really hard to write in the single boxes. So I've made it a little bit bigger just because I had a little bit more space on that page. Again, another reason why I made the full calendar spread instead of smashing it onto this page with all of the other stuff. But I'm hoping that this works out as well as I hope it is going to do, and then I might continue on it with next month. So we'll check it back in next month's video and see if I continue with this similar tracker system. I didn't use any of those Monstera leaves in my monthly spread, but I am using them here in this tracker page just because I had this odd section in the corner that was just like empty, but I didn't want to put another dinosaur. Leaves and foliage and flowers are your best friend when it comes into filling awkward space. When it's painting, when it's drawing, when it's in your journal, if you have the end of the week, you have this like big hole in your calendar, fill it with a flower and it makes it look like you did a lot of things. I don't know why that's so satisfying, but having a full calendar is mind-blowingly satisfying to me. So when I have a page where, yeah, I got what I needed to get done, but it wasn't a lot, or it wasn't multiple tasks, it was one really big task, I'll just like pop a doodle in there and it just looks like, oh, yep, you filled that page up, so you did good. It may be counterproductive thinking, but it works for me. So I just thought I would add that tip. once you've colored everything in, we're going to go in again with that thin black liner and sketch everything out. Just make all the details pop and give that border a good focus line. I thought it was super cute to play with the idea that the T-Rex has really short arms, so the Stegosaurus hopped on his head and he can't tag him because he can't reach his head. I know that's kind of sad thinking, but it's also really funny and definitely how I would play hide and seek with the T-Rex. I'm a very tricky person and I like to win, so that's definitely how I would play. And I just thought the imagery was really cute. So here you're going to see that I switched my pens back to my SGel liner, and for some reason I think I had written over the colored pencil one too many times, and my SGel liner was just like not doing what it needed to do, and I was having a lot of issues. I don't know why I didn't just pick up the same pen that I was using because it was working just fine, but I didn't. I tried to be stubborn and stick it out. So if these wobbly lines bother you as much as I do, believe me, I understand, and I apologize. I end up using a ruler for this next section because I was getting so frustrated that my pen wasn't working, and then once I started using the ruler, it was just like, oh, I guess I'll work now, and I'm like, it killed me. But at least my vertical lines are extremely straight and bold, but please don't look at my horizontal lines. But like I said, this little miniature calendar part is the most tedious part of my whole setup. All 4 pages that I set up. I love this and I hate it. So if anybody has any recommendations, I know that there's like stamps and stickers you can use, but I've never found a stamp set that's affordable to where, I mean, every year the months are different in different layouts, and the ones that I found that are cheap enough are in a Sunday through Saturday setup. So I need a European style setup that's a stamp so that I can save my hand a little bit of work, because Lord knows by the end of this time I am hand cramping like no other. But enough of my complaining. We're going to go on to our mood tracker. So I'm just doing the same old type of grid chart layout that I've been doing for our mood and our trackers and everything beforehand last couple months. And instead of just using one color or 2 colors alternating, I decided to go all out and use the whole color scheme. And it looked really cute. Let's just hope I don't get really tired of all the different colors on that one page by the end of this month. So it may have been a good choice. I think aesthetically it's very pleasing, but I would recommend that if this is your first time using this spread, I would go with a 1 to 2 color alternating, just because it's a little bit easier for your eyes to adjust to the different lines. And I do it this way because, for one, I hate drawing out those tiny little lines all the way across, and it makes it really easy that if you need to go into another line to add a couple more thoughts for the last day, you can just go back in with that liner or that highlighter or marker that you've used and just kind of like smudge that section over so that you can have a little bit more room and take some from the other day, if that, you know what that means. And it's a little bit more abstract and free-flowing than just having straight lines across the page all the time, black and white straight lines. And I'm really, really liking this setup, but I hate writing all of these numbers. So if you have hand cramps and you feel my pain and you don't track things, I recommend not making this spread. But if you love the satisfaction of knowing that you colored in all of your boxes for that month and you did all of your things every day, then it's worth the pain, because it's a great mood booster after a rough week. you look back and you're like, man, this week sucked, but I did everything I needed to do. I feel good. So I'm going to go in with black and just finish up all the little touches, erase all of the things that I don't need anymore, and that's our spread complete. So we've got our different pages. We've got our cover page with our quote and our cute little dinosaurs, and then our monthly calendar spread with big boxes, and then our trackers with our mood tracker as well. I hope that y'all enjoyed this month's spread. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see y'all next month. Remember to never stop creating.